Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Breakdown, where I'm probably offending someone with a fragile.
You definitely are.
But go Braves.
Go Braves.
Welcome back to another crappy week of fantasy football. All right. We're here to give you advice on players that are all likely questionable this week. And, we have no freaking clue if they're going to play. But somehow, some way, we keep giving you right answers. So welcome my co-host, Mike Dunton and Fiamano, back to the show for more right answers. Dunton, how are you?
I'm doing great. Can we just hang our hat on that we told everybody last week Jamar Chase was the start of the week, and Jamar Chase went crazy?
We were all over that game, right? We said Jamar. Fee said the Burrow Chase was the stack of the week. You both said Jamar Chase was the start of the week. You both said he was rookie of the year. We'll talk about that in a second. And I said that you can't sit Mark Andrews, but I said this was the week he was going to return to earth. And our lock of the week was the Bengals plus 6.5. And we said take the money line. We did. Winning. We were all over that game. Fee, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I was putting together Halloween bags for my daughter's school classes, which is where this lovely thing came from.
That's always fun.
Some glow sticks. But it is seriously a joke, right? This year, like people are on, they're questionable. They're on the injured list until Sunday morning. You're hearing that they're going to play. Boom, they're not going to play. T.Y. Hilton was playing until Sunday night. Okay. All week, Frank Reich said, we like his chances to play. Boom, he's gone. And that was a Sunday night game, right? It's just,
and we told you to sit him.
We did tell you to sit him, so hopefully you did. But it's getting to the point where you just got to sit back and laugh at what happens, because it's not the same It's not your granddaddy's fantasy football, as they say. It's
not. And now, like this week, the Packers have COVID.
Right. So we'll get to that in a second. But let's first talk about some locks of the week. Fee, your personal 4-game winning streak, 4-game lock of the week snapped. I told you that the Cardinals were going to cover that spread. You had them at 16.5. I told you they would cover 18.5, and they did. So your streak is broken, but you still agreed that the Bengals were the pick of the week. So our overall pick was a lock. I looked at my pick. My pick was the Falcons 2.5 over the Dolphins. The Falcons won by 2. I looked back. It was the third time I lost by the half point. And my bets that I've told you was the lock of the week. So if I ever tell you to pick a team that's favored by 14.5 or whatever the point,
win by 2 touchdowns.
Don't listen to me and go the other way. So that brings us to this week's locks of the week. Fee, we'll start with you. What do you like?
I like Detroit Lions getting 3.5 against the Eagles at home, I might add. Detroit played the Rams tough. I know, they kind of fell off at the end there. But the Eagles don't look good at all. And I think Detroit is good enough to hang close or even win that game outright. So I'll take the 3.5 points with Detroit.
I like that. Dutton, what do you think?
I'm taking the Titans -1 over the Colts. I think that I don't understand. That should be more points in my eyes. There's something, maybe Vegas knows something. I don't know. But an interesting line I saw was Washington is a 3-point underdog against the Broncos.
Was it 3 points? When I looked, it was 1.5.
Oh, well, when I saw it was 3, maybe it's changed.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It's still, I don't understand that. But anyway, I'm taking the Titans over the Colts.
I'm going to tell you the Rams 14.5 over the Texans. Look, the upper echelon of NFL teams, you give them 20 points against the Texans. The Texans are bad, right? And I just think the Rams are going to roll all over them. I do. Dutton and I talked about this last night. I told them Cardinals. This was before the Devonte.
This was Sunday night. We had this text. Go ahead.
I said the Cardinals were going to roll the Packers. I said 2 scores. I said I would give him 10.5 and make a gentleman's a Funko Pop bet.
A Funko Pop wager. And I told Wayne I would get back to him. And then I texted him and said, Devonte Adams is on the COVID list. We're not betting.
Right. So that's fair. But the spread is still 6. I think the Cardinals, I just think they're so good. And I think they cover the 6 against the Devonte Adams list Green Bay Packers. Now, after a week of 6 buys. We only have 2 this week.
But who are we picking? We didn't pick.
Wait, as our common our lock of the week. What are we thinking?
I'll take the Cardinals. I don't really like the Titans in this spot, or your Rams with the 14.5, of course. But I'll take the Cardinals.
I think the Cardinals with the Packers' current situation. I think if the Packers are full strength, that's a hard one to take. But with the current situation, I would take the Cardinals too.
And I like the Titans, but it goes against my one rule that I told you earlier. I don't pick division games.
Right.
So I just can't pick that. But I do think you're right that they likely cover. Okay, so we'll go Cardinals. That works. So where was I going after that?
Fiamano.
No, not Fiamano. Injuries. We were going to talk about Devonte Adams is now out for Thursday, so that's a big shoe to fill. And we only have 2 buys this week, but they're pretty hefty buys, right? They're the Ravens, so you're definitely down a quarterback. You're definitely down a tight end. You're definitely down a kicker. We don't really get into kickers on this show. And the Raiders. And, last week, Derek Carr was Dunton's start. He's on fire. Definitely Kenyon Drake has looked good 2 weeks in a row. And he's a Braves fan. So definitely want to start him next week. But so we have we have to dig deep this week. There's going to be some important moves that you need to make. But of course, as we said last week, if you listen to Fanduel Fee, you went with Burrow and Chase. You did very well. Now, we do have to address the fact that you went with Darnold and DJ Moore and Chuba Hubbard. The Panthers in general are in a downward trend, and
they're bad.
Darnold especially, he threw for 207 yards, and that was his highest total over the last 3 weeks. The other 2 weeks he finished under 200.
Right.
He only has 2 touchdown passes and he has 4 interceptions. How does someone fall back that badly mid-season when you come out on fire like that? It's
Christian McCaffrey. That's why.
You think that, but Bridgewater did okay with it last year. Not great, but okay.
Yeah, but that's not Sam Darnold. So now you're telling us that Teddy Bridgewater is a lot better than Sam Darnold, and I think I would take Teddy Bridgewater in that argument. So
yeah. I didn't think Darnold was this bad. I thought getting out of New York, he'd be better. In the first 3 games, I thought it was right because he's got weapons to work with.
Yeah, Robbie Anderson hasn't done squat this year with him, and I thought for sure that they'd be on the same page since they were coming from the Jets together, albeit a few years back now. But I still thought that they would figure it out. But he's been invisible, really. No Christian McCaffrey, no tight end to speak of. Chuba Hubbard's been okay, but I don't know. Their offense just seems to not have, it. They just don't seem to have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's
he started off like gangbusters, and he's come back down to earth now. So
there's already rumblings about questioning the coaching and down here in this area for the Panthers. So it's interesting because
you can blame players all you want, but when you as a team, one player missing, when you fall the way the Panthers are falling and they're getting worse and worse, you do have to do coaching, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting.
As a coaching staff, you have to make some sort of adjustment because this is 25-3 to the Giants, who are missing most of their best players. The
entire Giants offense is on injured reserve. Right. All of them. And you lose 25-3. I mean,
Danny Dimes is out there, kept making receptions.
Danny Dimes looked like ODB out there.
And the Giants defense has not been good this year, and you only score 3 points against them.
Yeah,
that's not great.
Right,
not great at all.
All right, so let's go to your stacks, Fanduel Fee, and talk about who you have this week.
Yeah, I only got one.
Because the one to have.
And it's definitely the one to have, and it's the same one from last week, and I'm going right back to it. It's Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase against the Jets, and if there's anything the Jets can't do is stop the pass, and I realized that they should probably get up big in this game, but Cincinnati has not taken their foot off the gas at all in
No.
any game this year. And
Yeah.
so I don't expect that even if they get up big, for people to come out of the game or for them to just run the ball down their throat just to pass the time. And so especially against a team like the Jets, I think you got to get yourself on Burrow and Chase again this week. I don't have any other stacks. You could play, Kyler Murray. You could play him naked. You could play a couple of other guys, not necessarily stacked up. But there are a couple other plays I like this week. I've talked about this guy, and it's probably the comeback of that Burrow and Chase. But if you want to stack up that game, you could play Jamison Crowder for only 5,600. I know Mike White or something is the quarterback for the Jets.
Yeah, I don't even know if we know who the quarterback's actually going to be, right?
Joe
But
Flacco.
he didn't look terrible last week. And Crowder's that slot guy that you want to get dump the ball off to. So I feel like he should get some volume there, and he's only down at 5,600. So, it's not a bad play. Deandre Swift has been unbelievable so far this year. Kind of quietly in the beginning of the year, and now he's kind of come on and people are starting to talk about him again. But it's unbelievable what he's been doing. I think he's number one in the league for running backs, rushing the ball. I think receiving, he's been insane. And no one's really talked about him at all. And he's only at 7,900, which yes, it's a little high, but it's not, that high.
Not for
he's not, it certainly doesn't hamstring you at all. And he's playing against the Eagles defense, who, we just talked about how bad Philly's been. So you might as well get DeAndre Swift in your lineup. And then I got one other guy, and it's in that same game, actually, with Miles Sanders, due to miss. I like playing.
Breaking. Adam Duvall, 2-run home run. Adam Duvall, 2-run home run. The Braves are up 5-0, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, feedback to you.
Okay. Kenneth Gainwell,
Like him.
probably getting the start for the Eagles against Detroit. He's only 5,900. He's a starting running back. I imagine they'll try to get some sort of semblance of a run game going with Jalen Hurts, maybe some more RPOs. But he gets the ball, he receives the ball out of the backfield as well. So could be some fantasy goodness there in that game as well. That's all I got.
I like it. It's hard to argue with Burrow and Chase, right?
Right now it is. I mean,
and I'm sure we're going to hear their name in just a second too, as we move on to our starts and sits for your weekly leagues. That being said, we did very well last week on our starts. We told you to start Matt Ryan, who had over 300 yards and a couple touchdowns. Daryl Henderson didn't have the game I'd liked him to have against the Lions. I was kind of upset, but he got you points for running back. Jamar Chase had 200 yards and a touchdown. I think he did just fine. And, I went back and I wanted to hear what you guys said, because I know you and Fee got into it. And Dunton said 150 yards and a touchdown is easy in this game. And he was right. 200 yards and a touchdown. And then all four of the tight ends we told you were gold. Goddard, Mo Ali Cox, Mike Gesicki, and then the guy we decided on for your lock of the week was Ertz. So we did well last week in our starts. Let's see what we could do this week for you in the starts and sits of the week. We'll start with Fee. We'll start with you.
Yeah, well, I'm going right back to Burrow. He's my starting quarterback of the week. There's no reason to get away from him. The guy's been gold, and he's playing the Jets.
Yep, I like it. Dutton.
So I'm just going to start Matthew Stafford for the sure fact that I want to hear the debate right here, because those are my two quarterbacks. Like Stafford's playing the Texans. Yeah. Stafford's playing the Texans and Burrow's playing the Jets. There are other people out there who have those two quarterbacks.
There's no debate. It's Burrow.
Yeah,
and it's because of exactly what I said earlier about how Cincinnati does not take their foot off the gas.
I agree.
The Rams, they haven't been playing as fast as they usually, or we were accustomed to seeing them play.
Yeah.
And so they're running the ball a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's by design or what, but I don't know.
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
I think
Matthew
you're right.
Stafford playing the Texans, unless you have Joe Burrow and you have to choose between them, Matthew Stafford Texans probably a good play in normal weeks, unless you have.
Oh
Joe
yeah,
Burrow.
yeah, definitely. Stafford's still a good player.
Right.
So I think the Eagles are a mess. I don't think they're good. I don't think Jalen Hurts is good in real life.
I
However,
don't think he's good.
He's a top 7 fantasy quarterback in points right now. And Detroit is not good against the quarterback. And they're not good against the run. And Hurts is a running quarterback. So I'm going to tell you he's going to get in the end zone twice. I don't know how he's going to do it. Maybe one pass, maybe one rush, maybe 2 rush. It doesn't matter. I think he's going to get fantasy points against the Lions, especially with Gainwell and Sanders out and Gainwell and Hurts now being like the lead in the backfield. So I think, there's nothing I like about Hurts as a real quarterback. I wouldn't want him on my team, but dude, the guy puts up fantasy points week in and week out. So that's my start of the week at quarterback. I'm perfectly fine locking in Burrow.
Me too. Lock in Burrow. Yeah. I mean, how many points did the Patriots score against the Jets? 54?
Yeah.
54.
Yeah.
You think the Bengals put up 60?
Maybe. That might be their goal, is to outdo, what
that would be interesting, huh?
Right.
Let's move on to running back. Dutton, we'll start with you, Dutton.
We talked about him. Fiamano mentioned him. Deandre Swift against the Eagles. The Eagles are not very good against the run. I told you that last week. Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake both had good games against the Eagles. So I'm going with Deandre Swift.
I like it. Fee.
I'm going with Daryl Henderson. We just talked about Stafford. Henderson, the Rams have been running the ball. They're playing Houston, which is just,
Good.
beautiful for a running game. So I'm going with Daryl Henderson as my running back lock.
I'm going with Joe Mixon. I mean, it's the Jets, right? They're bad against the run. They're going to get out to a big lead. I know I agree with you that they don't take their foot off the pedal, but that doesn't mean they're not going to run it. It just means they're not going to pull their starters for any reason. So Mixon will be out there getting his fair share of looks. I'm good with all 3 of these guys.
I think all 3 of these guys have good weeks.
Yeah. So who do we want to lock in as our start? Put it this way. This is the 1 week you will hear them. You will hear me be on board with Joe Mixon. So if we want to make him the start of the week this week because I'm on board with it, then that would
valid point, because you are not a Mixon fan.
I am not a Joe Mixon fan.
But I'm going to say this. I agree with Fee. I think the Rams run the ball late in the game to end it, and I think Henderson feasts on that. So I'm going to go with that. Henderson.
Let's roll. Cortland Sutton is my start of the week at wide receiver. I like what he's doing. He's a weird guy. Like he'll make like a big catch to start the game. This is the way it works with him every week because I have him on one of my teams. He makes a big catch and you're like, all right, 1 catch, 31 yards. We're heading for a big week. And then he's quiet for 3 quarters. And then in the 4th quarter, he gets like every target. And against the Washington football team, they're not very good against anything on defense, to be honest with you. So I think he's definitely the top target. And I say Cortland Sutton, full steam ahead. Fee.
I'm going with Deante Johnson this week. And the Steelers are playing Cleveland. And Cleveland's kind of in a downward spiral a bit here. They're really having a rough go of it. And I'll tell you why I like Deante Johnson. Obviously, no Juju Smith-Schuster out for the season. But in 5 games this year, Deante Johnson has 36, 105, 92, 72, and 71 yards receiving on 10 targets, 12 targets, 13 targets, 2 targets, and 13 targets, and 5, 9, 9, 2, and 9 catches. So especially PPR wise, and he's got 3 touchdowns in 5 games. But especially PPR wise, the guy just puts up points. Yeah. It's unbelievable. And they're playing Cleveland. I really like Deante Johnson this week.
I like that pick. And Dutton.
I'm going with Stephon Diggs against the Dolphins. I feel like this is the week Stephon Diggs comes out, right? He's been kind of quiet this year. Hasn't had a big game. Yeah, but Bills coming off a bye. I think the Bills are like, okay, we messed around. We probably could have beat the Titans, but we decided not to. And I think the Bills are prepared for a run here, and Stephon Diggs will be part of that.
All right. Who are we starting our lock, gentlemen?
I like Deante Johnson. I mean, the Steelers have to throw the ball to somebody.
Yeah, I like Deante. All right, let's move on to tight end. Fee, we'll start with you because I see you have fantasy football breakdown favorite.
Yeah. Detroit is playing Philly. We've talked about it. But I'm going with TJ touchdown, something or other.
King.
TJ Hawkinson. I'm going with TJ Hawkinson. Detroit, they're going to be able to move the ball for sure. It's going to be an interesting game because these two teams are just not good. And usually when you get two not good teams, lots of things happen. And TJ Hawkinson's has been good all year, and Goff seems to like him. So I'm going with Hawkinson for my lock.
Dutton.
I'm going with CJ Uzuma of the Cincinnati Bengals, which you're going to hear about later on from one of our other analysts, I should say. But here's what I can say about him. The guy has had 19 targets, 17 receptions, 256 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He has more touchdowns than Travis Kelce. I'm just going to tell you that right there.
That's fair.
I can't wait to talk about this in a minute.
We could do that. We could talk about it.
Can I talk about it right now?
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right. CJ Uzuma is my sit of the week, and I'm going to tell you why. Dutton just rattled off a whole bunch of stats to you, but here's the real deal. Those 5 touchdowns have come in just 3 games. And out of 7 games this year, he's never had more than 3 targets in one game. And he's only had once where he's caught more than 3 balls. Now, granted, he does catch the ball in the red zone. That's how he gets his touchdowns. He has had 2 games where he's had 90 yards. One of those games, he had 2 catches for like 40 yards each. So they kind of come in bunches. But he's only had 2 games where he's had more than 9 fantasy points. Okay, so he's a boomer bust type of guy.
And they're playing
and for a start or a sit of the week, I want a guy who's going to be a little more safe. Let's say.
I got you.
That's fair.
They're playing the Jets. That's all I'm saying.
They are playing the Jets, and yes, Cincinnati should score a lot of points, and yes, CJ Uzuma should be involved with that, but you just never know. That's why I'm sitting him this week.
All
because
right. Well, I'm starting.
You never know.
I'm going to tell you Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry has scored a touchdown in 4 straight games, and he's going home. He's going to the team that let him go, and that team is very good. And the Patriots are kind of teasing Patriots fans that they're actually good, but they're not really good. But I still think Hunter Henry in a league of terrible tight ends is a must start in fantasy football. When any tight end that's caught a touchdown 4 weeks in a row, it's clearly a red zone target and a quarterback favorite. So I'm going to tell you to lock in Hunter Henry this week. But of course, when Hawkinson is in the list, he gets my vote. So I would lock in Hawkinson against the Eagles.
Hawkinson it is. By the way,
okay, go ahead.
Really quick. Are the Patriots and Chiefs going to fight for the last wild card spot?
I don't know.
Because that could possibly be happening, right? Which is weird to think of.
We'll see what happens. I can't
believe the Patriots are even involved, to be honest.
It's crazy, though. I mean, but the fact that you're mentioning the Patriots and the Chiefs fighting for a playoff spot is even beyond bizarre, right?
Yeah. Well, right. That and the fact that the Chiefs are so bad this year.
Right.
All right. Their offensive line is definitely not helping.
Yeah.
Well, and their defense is horrendous.
A sieve, if you would.
Moving on to sits. Last week we were pretty good. Daniel Jones wasn't like rock your socks off. Miles Sanders left the game hurt. T.Y. Hilton didn't suit up. And congratulations to Robert Tonyan for actually playing like the tight end that he was drafted for. He did burn us last week, but yeah.
We didn't know it was tight ends day if we would have known that.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
It was tight ends day. So yeah, and Tonyan did good. I mean, that's got to be the only reason that Rodgers finally looked for him was so he could get hashtag tight end day on ESPN.
Right.
But so moving on to this week's sits, let's go to quarterback, and we'll start with you, Dutton, because yours is interesting.
I have a surprise sit, and you will never probably hear this again this year unless something crazy happens. But I think this is the week you sit Aaron Rodgers.
I do too.
There's no Devonte Adams, and now Alan Lazard is on the COVID list, which means you're down another wide receiver. So
MVS is coming off injury.
I was just gonna say. So now we're hoping that Marquez Valdez-Scantling can come back from injury. We're hoping that Robert Tonyan can put on his best Mark Shimura
Nice.
Halloween
Reference.
costume, right? And become
Chewy.
that tight end for the Packers. Yeah, I just think this is the week to sit Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he might have 250 yards, he might have a touchdown, but he also would have 2 picks, right? It could be 250 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. It's just not an Aaron Rodgers type night on Thursday night. It's really sad for the NFL. Wayne and I were talking about this on Sunday. It was one of their best Thursday night games
Right.
they've probably had in years, and now the Packers have COVID. Like,
And
probably got it from the Bears, really, because the Bears coach.
Right, the Bears coach has it.
Yeah.
I think you both still underestimate the Arizona defense, and I think we talk about the Arizona offense a lot, but I think it's their defense that makes Aaron Rodgers just sit this week, especially without his big weapons. Fee, to you, Fee.
I am sitting Tua Tagovailoa.
Very good work on that last name. Very good.
Oh, thank you. Playing against the Bills, who have the best D in the league currently.
Coming off a bye.
Coming off a bye.
Angry too.
Tua hasn't been. I mean, Tua's been okay. He's been fine. He's been serviceable.
Fantasy wise, he's been okay.
Right.
But I just don't see the Dolphins doing much of anything against the Bills this week. And Tua, you should absolutely be sitting.
I'm going to tell you to sit Mac Jones. I know I said sit Hunter Henry. I mean, I start Hunter Henry, but I think Mac Jones will get a touchdown pass. But I don't think he's going to do very well. The Chargers are home. The Chargers are rested. They got spanked, right? That was the game before the bye when they got spanked by the Ravens. So they're mad.
Yes.
They're rested. Patriots are coming to town. They want to show, and their defense has been good. So I'm going to tell you to sit Mac Jones, especially coming off that week against the Jets, where I feel like everyone's going to be like, oh, I can start him now. It was the Jets, people. It was the Jets. So who do we want to lock in? Do we want to go bold and say sit Aaron Rodgers as our sit of the week?
I mean, it's pretty bold, right? It's pretty bold to tell people to sit Aaron Rodgers.
Let's go bold. Let's go.
I would do it.
Let's do it. That's what we're here for. Moving to running back, I'll start because I agree with Fee that the Bills just have a really good defense, and I don't think that the Dolphins are going to do much of anything. So I'm going to tell you to sit Gaskin. Gaskin's a pain in the ass kind of running back that when someone asks me for advice on him and I look at every analytical stat in the world and it all says to sit Gaskin, Gaskin has 100 yards receiving and 100 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. So I'm going to tell you to sit that with the caveat that he's a pain in the ass. But that's my sit of the week. Dutton.
Again, another guy you're not going to sit. We sat him earlier in the year because we were confused by him. He's coming on strong, but the Titans are playing well, and I'm sitting Jonathan Taylor. I just think the Colts are struggling right now. I don't see a big game out of him. Doesn't mean he doesn't find the end zone, right? I mean, a running back finding the end zone isn't hard on a 1-yard run. But does he have 120 yards and a touchdown? I don't think so. So I'm going to sit Taylor.
And Fee.
I'm sitting Leonard Fournette this week. I know the guy's been on a tear and he's been insane recently. The New Orleans Saints have the 3rd best run D in the league.
They look really good the other night.
And I think that Tampa's going to go back to the pass. I think Brady's going to throw it all over the field this week. And I think Fournette is kind of going to go on the back burner again.
Fair enough. Who's our lockety lock? I'm going to Fournette.
I'm good with Fournette.
Defense.
Okay, I was going to go with Gaskin, but I'm good.
I was good with either one of those, but I'm okay with Fournette. We're going bold this week with these.
We are going bold.
Fee, I'm going to let you start on wide receiver because I have a few comments on him too. So go ahead.
I'm sitting Calvin Ridley against Carolina's D. I know Carolina looked terrible against the Giants. I think they have a bit of a bounce back. I mean, Atlanta is not very good. Calvin Ridley has done next to nothing this year. I got to sit him again going against a halfway decent defense.
I think Calvin Ridley is no longer startable in fantasy. Matt Ryan threw for 335 yards last week. He had 24 yards receiving. If he didn't get that touchdown, he's nothing. And I told you last week he was the start of the week.
You did.
I told you if he didn't come through, he's a bye week replacement at this point. He is not getting looks. He's not securing the looks that he's getting. 4 receptions for 24 yards. Like I said, if he doesn't get in the end zone, that's garbage. That is garbage. He is the 4th, at least the 3rd option, right? Matt Ryan looks Kyle Pitts now all day long. It's Kyle Pitts. And you got Cordero Patterson coming out of the backfield is a very good receiver. Ridley is the third option, and you can make a argument that Russell Gage gets more looks right now. So I don't think Ridley's startable any week of the season any longer, unless it's for a bye week. Dutton, you.
I am sitting. Hold on. Breaking news: Charlie Morton is out of the game for the Braves as a starting pitcher with an injury.
Yep, I'm watching.
I am sitting Michael Pittman. No, where are we?
Yeah,
receiver. Yes. Okay. Michael Pittman Jr. of the Colts. There's a theme here with me this week. I don't trust the Colts this week. I think Mo Alley Cox is actually taking looks from Michael Pittman Jr. Wayne and I were joking the other night. We don't know how good Carson Wentz is as a quarterback. We also think he might be colorblind.
Right, because his throws don't make sense.
So I'm sitting Michael Pittman Jr.
And I'm going to sit Robert Woods. As much as I make fun of the Texans and their defense, I will give the Texans credit in one thing, and that is you won't see two receivers have a good game against them. Someone back there in that secondary, I don't know who it is because none of them are good on paper, but someone in that secondary is obviously good against the receiver, the second receiver. And I think that I don't think anybody can shut down Cooper Kupp right now. So I'm going to tell you to sit Robert Woods. Who do we want to lock in? I'm good with Ridley. Like I said,
I'm good with Ridley.
Lock him in. Tight end, I'll give you a quick start. Robert Tonyan. It was fool's gold. It was tight end week. He's right back to normal. I don't care if they have no wide receivers. I still don't think he's going to have a good week.
I'm sitting Gesicki versus the Bills for the reasons we talked about earlier. Why you would sit Tua versus the Bills, or why you would sit Myles Gaskin versus the Bills.
Yes. And then Fee.
I already spoke about CJ Uzuma, about how I don't like him this week. So, but he's my sit. But I'd go Tonyan if we're locking in somebody.
Let's go Tonyan. Lock him in.
Which is hard to do right now, actually, because
I know without the receivers, right?
Right. Without all those receivers, he might be the only guy that Aaron Rodgers actually throws the ball to. So this could be an interesting sit this week.
Right, but what was I going to say? Oh, even so, if everyone's focused on Tonyan, like how good could it be, right? Like he could barely get open when it's one-on-one. What if he's the main guy and there's zone or two
zone coverage? They just put JJ Watt on,
right? So let's just do a quick recap. Our lock of the week for against the spread is the Cardinals over the receiverless Packers, giving 6. At Fanduel Fee's stack of the week is Burrow and Jamar Chase. I have a feeling we're going to be hearing that for the next few weeks, to be perfectly honest with you, with Crowder, Deandre Swift, and Gainwell as starts that he likes for daily fantasy lineups. Our consensus fantasy football breakdown starts of the week is Joe Burrow, Daryl Henderson, Deante Johnson, and TJ Touchdown King Hawkinson. And then our sits of the week, we're going bold. Aaron Rodgers, Lenny Fournette, Calvin Ridley, and Robert Tonyan. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special episode coming at you later this week, giving you our mid-season grades since we are at mid-season of the new 14-week fantasy football season. So be sure you tune in Friday for another great episode of Fantasy Football Breakdown, and we'll be able to tell you how bad we did in our preseason picks. We'll see you next time.